Now, naming a martial arts event such an iconic name like Enter the Dragon creates some really big shoes to fill. I'm sure Bruce Lee fans around the world were taken back to the first time they watched this epic film about Han's secret island tournament with the best martial artists from all over the world testing the skills against each other. And one championship had a really similar theme with their event, minus the evil crime boss Kingpin at the center of it. But with almost every fighter on the main card holding multiple championship accolades, multiple disciplines over multiple organizations, it really was a meeting of some of the best martial artists on earth. My name's Clancy. Welcome to the TAP Podcast. One Singapore event certainly lived up to its name. There's far too much action to cover in one show, but I am going to touch on several of the more pinnacle moments, first of which is the one that made headlines around the world, and that is the one-strike fight that ended the UFC former stars Sage Northcutt's debut. Now, accepting a fight against a ferocious striker and multiple-time Muay Thai champion like Cosmo Alexandre is a really brave decision. It's about as trial by fire as it gets for the international martial arts stage. Now, I certainly don't doubt Sage's skills, but it's a lot of pressure for a 23-year-old, not just for the physicality of this fight, but there was a lot of unspoken pressure due to the fact that, he's a big star coming across from the UFC, and despite the modernization of mixed martial arts, there's still some folks out there who believe that the UFC holds, the most superior rosters of fighters on earth. The truth of the matter is that any fighting organization, they've only got the resources to showcase a very small sliver of, the really talented athletes out there, and the best fighter really can come from anywhere. Anyway, back to the fight. Unfortunately, he couldn't establish his wide base. He couldn't establish his karate style distance control early enough and immediately got backed up onto the ropes. And 29 seconds in, he caught a power right hand from Cosmo that fractured his orbital in 8 places and ultimately left him, face down on the canvas. Thus, this left the American star with a disappointing debut and shattering the dream of all those hardcore UFC fans from across the pond. It's a sobering reminder of how much power a trained martial artist wields and how fragile our bodies can be in certain situations. But, the good news is Sage is recovering well and should be back to training again in no time, and we really hope to see him back on the one roster very, very soon. All right, so let's change gears. Super Series Kickboxing. The Super Series Kickboxing tournament, in which there is $1 million prize, has attracted some of the best Muay Thai practitioners that Thailand has to offer. We usually think of Thai fighters as these tough as nails, invincible punishment machines, but this event actually saw 2 of the best Thai legends outstruck by younger and foreign opponents. Now, kickboxing takes away 2 of the most vital weapons in Muay Thai, and that's the clinch and the elbow. Now, it should be said that you are allowed to clinch in kickboxing, but it's not done in the same manner as Muay Thai. We'll cover more on those differences in a later show, but had these been Muay Thai bouts, things may have gone down a different road. But there was one Thai fighter on the card, a third Thai fighter, who secured his spot in the featherweight semifinals by beating the Italian kickboxing ace, Giorgio Petrosian. Pech Morakot, he is a 200-fight veteran and has multiple Muay Thai titles to his name. But fighting Petrosian in the world of kickboxing, that's a tall order for anyone. Giorgio is known for that absolute control, surgical precision, hence his nickname, the Doctor. which he displayed all through the first round. He had a great first round, but the second and third saw Pechmorikot drag Giorgio into his world of scrappy, chaotic striking. He used his long limbs to land strikes, and then he'd immediately close that distance and obtain that brief clinch to avoid any counterstrikes. A solid flurry in the last minute gave him just enough to edge the win on the judges' scorecards. It's not the most exciting way to win, not that it wasn't entertaining, but it certainly nullified the dangers of Giorgio's game. So there's an important lesson there. You don't want to be dragged into somebody else's game plan. You don't want to end up playing their game because it really puts you off your own, and it's always going to look better for your opponent to the judges. So staying with the kickboxing, Nieky, Holzken, and Regian Ursel traded heavy leather in an all-Dutch affair for the lightweight kickboxing world title. Ursel outworked Holzken for the unanimous decision win and had some spectacular moments with some flying knees. He really loves those flying knees. His work rate was really high and consistent through the whole fight, and his range proved to be an enormous advantage. He was landing shots and then forcing Holzken to overcommit and expel a whole bunch of energy trying to chase his target. Holzken had his moments though. He had some really nice uppercuts, an awesome spinning back kick, or a couple of spinning back kicks to deliver, and he had this picture-perfect spinning heel kick that was just flawless. But as the rounds wore on, he visually slowed, and as a result, we have a new champion in Regian Ursel. Jumping back into MMA, earlier on the card, Singaporean Amir Khan suffered another painful loss by way of knockout at the hands of Arslan Aliyev. Now, Amir got phased by a really tight hook while he was up against the ropes in the first round, which left his chin high for a savage uppercut that led to the knockout. This puts him on a 3-fight skid, which is really disappointing. He's a phenomenal striker, and his last few fights, he just hasn't been able to put it all together. It's one of those cases where a fighter just doesn't seem himself. He's not the same Amir Khan that we're used to seeing. But in saying that, he's only 24. He's got a really bright future in this sport, and I think if he can kind of tighten the screws a little bit and work out what's going on, he's going to do really well. Arslan Aliyev literally punched his ticket. If you haven't watched this fight, go and watch it. It's up on YouTube. Arslan Aliyev literally punched his ticket to the finals of the ONE MMA lightweight tournament. Speaking of lightweights, the winner of this tournament will face the new champion in Christian Lee. Now, Christian is a 20-year-old phenom from Singapore, so he was a hometown boy in this fight, and he's now the youngest ever MMA world champion. This sounds groundbreaking, but when you look at his history, it's almost expected. I mean, he's been training since he was a child. He holds 2 black belts, one of them in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's won 6 world titles, from BJJ to Pancrash and to MMA to submission grappling. His parents are both accomplished martial artists. His father is his head coach, so martial arts literally is the family business. His sister Angela Lee is also the ONE atomweight world champion, capturing that title back in 2016. When you consider all this, along with his absolute focus towards martial arts, it really was only a matter of time. His opponent, Shinya Aoki, 36-year-old and an absolute veteran of the sport. He holds over a dozen titles himself and he's an absolute submission ace. Shinya recently beat Edward Folayang to regain the title, and he immediately asked to fight his teammate and friend, Christian Lee. He felt he wanted to fight the hungriest young lion in the sport, and he knew that it had to be Mr. Lee. The first round was pretty exciting. Shinya dominated the ground and even sinking in a really deep armbar. It looked like it was going to end the fight. The pain on Christian Lee's face looked excruciating, but Christian managed to slip out of it. He pushed Shinya's legs over his head, got out, and managed to finish the first round. Second frame started well for both guys. But then Christian threw a right-left-left combination, straight punches, and sent Aoki wilting to the mat in the corner of the ring. Lee immediately followed it up with a scooping right hook that had Aoki clearly stunned. Now, in my personal opinion, this fight could have gone on for a few more seconds at least, but, Aoki was rocked, but he's a veteran and there may have been an opportunity for him to pull guard or roll or work his way out of there. But when you put the shoe on the other foot and you look at things from the referee's standpoint, he saw Aoki go down, Christian swarming in with big shots. Aoki wasn't getting back up. It was also in the corner of the ring, which makes it difficult to see if Aoki is intelligently protecting himself. A fighter's safety is always priority number one, and Mr. Olivier Coste clearly made the right decision from where he was standing. Refs have an incredibly tough job, and no one but them can fully understand the stoppages or the reasoning behind them. So anyway, Christian Lee made history. He was crowned the one lightweight champ, and Aoki seemed really happy about it. I think when you get to a certain stage in your career, especially a career as decorated as his, you are looking for somebody that's worthy to pass that championship legacy onto. And Aoki found it that night in his friend and teammate, Christian Lee. So, summing this up, it's all quite poetic, really. Enter the Dragon, an epic martial arts tournament held in Asia. Our hero, Mr. Lee, vanquishing his veteran foe after overcoming adversity in an epic battle of the main event. I don't know about you guys, but I reckon it really did the name justice. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for listening, guys. It's been great. As always, train hard, keep up that fighting spirit.